Assalamu alaikum, this is Z, and we're here for Red Dissection of how Manchester United was bodied, bloodied, and bruised by Brighton, and honestly, it was royally deserved. Ten Hag can bandy about words like standards, culture, but these are just empty words without actual performances, meaningless rhetoric without any concurrent action. He can strong arm personalities like Sancho publicly by ruining them, or mollycoddle his favorites like Rashford, but he's losing currency and credit faster than United are losing points in the Premier League. The first 15 minutes were fine. United started well. They were pressing. Rather than Bruno playing on the right hand side, he was playing in a diamond at the top of the diamond, and with the two strikers, they were pressing well. But the problem is people like Rashford and Bruno, they don't actually know how to press. And they run out of steam like by 15 minutes. So after first 15, 30 minutes, we were gassed out. We couldn't press them. De Zerbi, to his credit, he changed the tactics slightly, and the keeper, Jason Steele, started playing out to the fullbacks. So the three up top were flummoxed. Ten Hag couldn't direct his players to adjust to the change. The midfield was far outstretched. I mean, three people of Scott McTominay, Casemiro, and Eriksen had to cover the whole stretch, the middle stretch of the field, and they couldn't compete with their midfield of Daoud, Pascal Gross, and the two white players and fullbacks. They were just outclassed. United was completely demolished. Pascal Gross was the clear man of the match. He was excellent in terms of poise, possession, positioning, pressing, and even finishing. He was just top notch. Martinez, I mean, he was sent back to Argentina, and they had great performances by people like Adingra, who was a surprise package. He was constantly running behind Reguilon, and Martinez, I mean, he couldn't match his speed. The left hand side was kept quiet comparatively. I mean, Mitoma was silent. He didn't have much to do. Lamptey was bright, and later on in the final stretch of the game, there were quite a lot of empty spaces, and Lamptey and Mitoma and Ansu Fati, when he came, he did well. João Pedro scored, and he looks impressive. He looked impressive when he was in Watford, and he seems to be growing and grooming well under De Zerbi. This is another mark against Ten Hag, because no player seems to be improving in under his tutelage, while De Zerbi constantly brings about new players who are exciting, scintillating, and he gives them confidence to try new stuff. I mean, take risks. People like Enciso, Evan Ferguson, who didn't start, Adingra now, Lamptey, Ansu Fati has come on, and also Carlos Baleba, who didn't feature in the match. So they're looking great, and they are a shout for top four. Now coming to player ratings for Manchester United, I mean, starting with Andre Onana, say anything about David De Gea's passing and his sweeping, but clearly, Andre Onana is not a good shot stopper. Certainly not at the level of David De Gea, and he should have scored the second and the third goal. He made a good save in the end, but the match was gone by then. Diogo Dalot did well defensively against Mitoma, and he did have few forays into the Brighton box. He cut the ball back for Marco Rashford, but he couldn't finish. But as the match progressed, he was quite often found wanting in terms of position play, and there were runners that were just going past him, and he was playing quite narrow with Victor Lindelof. I think there was a conscious plan, that Diego Dolo and Lindelof were narrow while defending, so they could cope with the threat of Mitoma and Lamptey. But overall, it wasn't good enough. Lindelof was probably the best in terms of defender. He was good on the ball. He wasn't stretched too much. I think Welbeck was pinned himself against Martinez more. Out of the defenders, I think he and Reguilon did well. Lisandro Martinez, he's a shell of his former self. I mean, he seems slow. He's not very perceptive. He's not aware of the players. I mean, Welbeck kept running off the back of him. He was like in the opening fixture of last season. it was the same. I mean, Welbeck scored then and he scored now, and he just seems slow. He doesn't seem confident. Even his passing is not as crisp, and yeah, it wasn't good. It was a poor performance. Reguilon was bright, especially going forward. He was adventurous. He was, busting along, unlike some senior players. He was good going forward, but defensively, I mean, we already know with him. Even at Tottenham, he had this defensive faults. He's not good at tracking or one-on-one defending, and overall it was a decent performance in terms of relative to other players, but still below par. Scotty McTominay. Nothing to say here. He can't press. He can't pass. He can't defend. He can't track his players. It was a strange decision by Ten Hag. Casemiro was the worst player on the pitch. He was slow, ponderous. He kept losing the ball. He couldn't pass 5 yards. We can't keep possession with him in the team. And Bruno and Rashford. But Casemiro was the worst player on the pitch. And he just seems leggy. I think maybe his age, maybe the second season, he's gonna be found out a lot more, I think. And teams are going to target him in all of the 5 matches. We've seen runners from midfield just flying past him. Christian Eriksen was his. I mean, he is not convincing, but he is probably the best in terms of keeping the ball and passing to 4 or 5 yards. He was neat and tidy. Defensively, he can't. He can't compete with any midfield, I don't think. And in this formation, he had to track back their fullback and also see if the striker was coming deep and the midfield runners. I mean, he couldn't manage defensively, but in terms of passing, he was all right. Probably our best center defender. Bruno Fernandes was playing his favorite position of number 10 behind the two strikers, but he's just so erratic. I mean, we don't know what he's gonna do next. I mean, he could give a worldly pass, outside of the foot, but he makes so many mistakes. He can't keep the ball. We can't play possession, transactional football with somebody like Bruno, especially being a captain. I don't know. I mean, he's petulant, and he got a yellow card again for like mouthing off to the referee. He's not captain material. He's certainly not leading by example, and his own game is like being a captain. His game is insufferable sometimes, and this was like, I won't say this was his worst performance, because he played in a number of positions and played at center back by the end. But I mean, it was his regular subpar performances, and I don't think we're gonna get any better performances from Bruno for any length of time now. Marcus Rashford, MBE, he suffers from his own hype. I mean, he was ambling and loitering. He couldn't press. He couldn't be bothered. Apart from going for his own glory, I mean, he suffers from this main man syndrome, this kind of messiah complex. But he's not good enough. I mean, apart from scoring like in spurts, which he does, even last season he scored in like 3 4 month period after the World Cup. But he's just so inconsistent. His overall game is just so inconsistent. He's not good at 2 3 facets. He's just good at one thing, like point and shoot, or just run in blind alleys. And today he was criminally selfish. I mean, he wouldn't pass to Hoyland. There was a simple square ball on. Even to Bruno, he didn't pass at the very end in the game. Bruno was asking for the ball while he was playing at center back, but he wouldn't pass. I mean, he's just impossible to like criticize him even further, because he's not doing anything right now. Rasmus Hoyland was impressive. I mean, he was running, he was jostling, and giving Dunk a hard time. Somebody like Dunk, who is very imposing physically, Hoyland was up for a fight. It was his first start for Manchester United playing in Old Trafford. He did very well. He almost scored. I mean, he did score, but the ball was out, and it was promising for him. I mean, he wanted the ball so many times off of Rashford, but Mr. MB wasn't bothered, and it was a promising start. and I hope he's. I thought Ten Hag said he got a niggle, that is why he was taken off, but I mean it was a wrong decision to substitute him, and the crowd was on Ten Hag's back for it, and Martial came on and did nothing. So Hoyland was good, and hopefully he can build on this. Substitutes Hannibal Maybury was right. He took his goal well. I mean, it was a good shot. Probably the keeper should have saved, but he was right. He was aggressive. Could have gotten a yellow card, but that's good. I mean, we want to see fire from young players, and he also showed quality on ball. And maybe he should be given a longer stay in the team. And let's see what he can produce with the regular football under his belt. Anthony Martial was Anthony Martial. I mean, he doesn't seem fit. Even now, he doesn't seem. He certainly isn't match fit, but physically also he's lost his pace. He doesn't have that burst of speed that he used to, and I can't see him getting into the box or breaking his neck to get to the end of a cross, end of a pass. I think his days are numbered. He shouldn't be in the club right now. I think United should have cut the losses. He was a good player at one point of time, but he's a shadow of his former self. Alejandro Garnacho, I mean, he's spirited. That's what I can say. I don't think he's got great ball skills or great close control. I don't think his dribbling is that great. He can run past players, obviously, but at this level, I don't think he has the tools to like give us, regular good quality performances. Unfortunately, he's just too young and too raw for United right now, and that's why I think Ten Hag has taken him out of the limelight and the firing line, and he wasn't good when he came on. Facundo Pellistri, he didn't have enough touches on the ball. He didn't have enough time on the pitch. He always is tidy in possession and he's good at dribbling past players, but he didn't get the ball to make any kind of impact on the game. And now to the main man, Erik Ten Hag, the gaffer. He was handsomely schooled by De Zerbi. I mean, he seems lost, and he seems like drowning in his own sorrows with the weight of the world on his shoulders. Manchester United seem to be too big a job for him. I mean, he looks nothing like what he was last season. I mean, he doesn't look witty. He doesn't look like he has clarity of thought or clarity of action. And with all the controversies, I mean, he can't keep his ship tight. People like Sancho, I mean, Anthony, I mean, he's just, and players like Marcus Rashford, Bruno Fernandes, Luke Shaw, people that Ten Hag has rewarded with fatty contracts, and he hangs his hat on their shoulders, his general, so to speak. And I think they will be the cause for his downfall. I think they have put other managers under the bus before, be it Ole Gunnar Solskjaer or Ralf Rangnick, and I think they're going to do the same thing. I mean, a leopard doesn't change spots. And so I think he's in danger. He's in serious danger. It was easy for Brighton to rack dollars around, have the way with us, toy with us, and we didn't even put up a fight. We died without even a whimper, and that is troubling. The club is rotten from the top. The Glazers are unconcerned. They're a joke. We are a laughing stock, and it just seems bleak. The future seems bleak. There seems to be tepid acceptance to incompetence and ineptitude, and failure has become chronic. The rot has long set in, and it's just festering now. I don't see any easy or any quick fix, and we can just hope that somehow they can, with the Bayern Munich on the horizon, we can somehow, summon enough courage, gather the broken bodies, and put up a fight. I won't be expecting a great result, great performance, but even if we get a draw in the Champions League, then it would be a fledgling start to possible recovery. But I don't see it happening. We shall bring all the build up and preparation for the upcoming Champions League game against Bayern Munich in the next Red Prep show. Please join us. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next. Assalamu alaikum.